Welcome back to the channel, my YouTube friends. Today we are going to do a simple upgrade, if you will. The radiator that was in the truck was in pretty sad shape. I think it was actually the original radiator for the truck, and it worked okay on the 5.3, but it was just not enough. So we're going to do an upgrade to a Summit Racing universal fit radiator, but we're going to do that with a little bit of a twist. We're going to convert this radiator from a regular crossflow radiator where the coolant goes from one side to the other to a dual pass radiator where the coolant goes down the top, down the side, and then back across the bottom and circulates out the bottom hose. The reason why we're going to do that is for simplicity of the hose routing. And any of you who are familiar with an S10 are familiar with the space constraints, so we're going to fit the radiator where it sits flush inside the core support. So follow along as we do that. It's really not going to be that difficult, I hope. But yeah, here we go. Check it out. Oh, also, I didn't really have any good place to put it, so I got a couple of in-car videos from when I ran the truck at the local drag strip, 8th Mile. So I'm going to also throw that in here in a couple minutes. So check that out, watch a little bit, tell me what you think, comment down below. Let's hear about it. Okay, so in order to get this thing to fit, this ledge that follows right here along the bottom side of the core support's got to be cut out. It's also going to require some of the lip that's on the radiator to get cut down a little bit as well. It's going to be a really close fit, but we wanted to get as big of a radiator in here as possible. So that's what it's going to take. Okay, now that we've got the core support trimmed out as much as we can, we're going to trim a little bit off of the bottom of the radiator support as well. Have no fear, it will be just fine. So this lip that's on the bottom of the radiator is about a 1/2 inch too tall. We're going to go ahead and cut that down. Okay, time to cut a little bit off of the other side now, or the top of it. Okay, so the next step, now that we've got everything trimmed, is we got to take the filler neck off of it, and the filler neck is now going to go in line in the top hose. So the easiest way to do that is to take a big unibit like what this jewel is right here and drill right down through the center of the radiator cap. Now what that does is it cuts the weld when it goes through the other side. And just like that, it comes off. Now the cool part about it is that since this thing came off peacefully and we didn't have to beat it up to get it off of there, we're actually going to reuse it. So we'll just weld a piece of tubing onto it. It'll go in the middle of the upper radiator hose and put a thermostat out, or and we'll put a radiator cap on it. Okay, look at all the room we have now that the radiator is sitting up inside of the core support. So we're not going to have to trim the front brackets or the front support off the radiator. It's fine to stay where it is. So the next step is we're going to fit some kind of brackets to the sides of the radiator. We're going to put the cap on the top of the radiator, and we're going to move this water hose line thing to this side of the radiator, so the hose only has to go from here to here, and then right here in the top is where we'll put the radiator cap. Okay, so we fitted some brackets to the truck, real simple stuff, just some 2-inch angle cut in 2-inch pieces. I marked it while the radiator was in there. So now I'm going to go ahead and tack them in place and fit it to the truck again and make sure that there's no problems with fitment before I weld everything completely. Okay, now that we got the brackets welded on, we got the cap hole welded shut, we're going to cut the hose connections off and relocate them both to this side of the radiator. Alright, now the lower hose is tacked in place. The upper hose has been cut off on one side and we're going to put it on the other. Drill a hole for that real quick. Well, I tell you what, that thing makes all the difference in the world, being able to rest your hand on that hot part. If you do any kind of aluminum welding, you don't have one, you really ought to get one of those. I'll put a link for it in the description below. Okay, so the next step, or in one of the last couple of steps, is we got to block off the old hose connection hole, and we got to cut a slot in this side right here. And some people may not be familiar with this. There are radiators that they call dual pass, where the coolant goes in and then comes back this way because it's divided in the middle and it can't just go between the hoses. Last step, we're going to add the divider that goes in the tank. So this is the divider that I told you about earlier that diverts the water and forces it to go to the other tank and then back, which is what also enables us to put the hoses both on the same side of the radiator. In my case, the slot that I had to cut in the tank in the middle also lined it up with one of the tubes. Now, I don't know how much difference it makes, or I don't know how much difference it would make as far as coolant flow is concerned. I put a little bend in the bottom of the divider plate so that when I put the divider in place, it doesn't block that one tube, so I'll get use of all of the tubes. So it's no more than just sliding the divider in place like that. I'll show you what it looks like. There's the divider slid in its final resting place. We'll go back in there. Now we'll go back in and just weld the seams up, and then this thing will be done. One last thing I didn't cover very much of was building that little guy right there. This piece of tubing was actually used in the radiator hose already. And then this cap piece, or the piece that the cap goes on to, that's what we cut off of the radiator earlier in the video. Okay guys, I think we're going to wrap the video up right there. That's a huge improvement in the truck as far as just, you know, keeping it cool. That's on swaps like this, it's always a problem keeping them cool, especially in the heat. Just for comparison's sake, I had it sitting outside in the driveway idling for about 40 minutes, and it only got to about 178 degrees, and it was 105 degrees outside. Prior to that, with the old radiator, albeit not in good shape, it would not run 15 minutes out there before it was boiling over. So huge improvement. I've included a link for that radiator down below in the comments. Also, if you guys want to see anything, any kind of particular project in the future, be sure to drop me a line. Also, I've got an email address right here. Let's hear about it. Tell me what you guys think. Again, thanks again for stopping by. Big shout out to all the new subscribers. Lots of new guys coming in, and gals, I'm assuming. See you in the next video. Have a good one.